Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another beautiful Wednesday with us. I am your host, Lloyd Strayhorn, here on Live with Lloyd, where the joy of numerology is the joy of learning and enlightenment. As you see, I have on the screen a picture of my special guest. In every sense of the word, we've been knowing each other before college, during college, after college. And so we've always maintained a lifelong friendship. Just as I am into numbers, he is into foods and how it should be prepared. So there's a lot of things that you take for granted when you cook or eat. But I have this nutritionist, my very good friend Paul Chisholm, that will be on in just a moment. But what I want to do first is give you the forecast for today. So this is the joy of where the joy of numerology is the joy of learning and enlightenment. Please like, share, and subscribe. This is about the only time I can remember. But for those of you who do like it, thank you very much. Who do share it, and especially those who subscribe, the numbers are getting bigger. They're climbing. But I'm not caught up about like I get 100,000 subscribers. I don't think people do. Maybe celebrities and whatnot. But the point is to subscribe and share the information. Although this is supposed to be a numerology show, which it is, everything is relative, believe it or not. I think that was one of Einstein's statements. But today is Wednesday, August 17th. The sun is in Leo, the moon is in the sign of Taurus. It's a 5 universal month, a 7 universal week, and a 4 universal day. So those under the signs of Leo, Aquarius, Gemini, Capricorn, and Libra will do well as anybody born on the 4th, the 8th, the 13th, the 17th, the 22nd, the 26th, and the 31st of any month. So knowing what that is, folks, I just want to make sure we get all that straight because I'm now about to bring on my very special guest and very long time friend, Paul Chisholm. Paul, how you doing, buddy?
Great, Lloyd. Great to see you. Great to be here, and thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, well, one of the things we hung out in college. We used to sit in the frat room talking and some other things, talking about the stars and everything like that. And
Yeah,
so we've always had a very lifelong relationship. I then went into numbers, but you went into the areas of food from the days of culinary school to having your own restaurant in Harlem to becoming a nutritional guru. Actually, so let me ask you this. After school, because your major was in biology and you worked at Harlem
right.
Hospital for a bit, what made you go into foods?
Um, well, I had been working as a lab technician at Harlem Hospital, where my first job out of school, and
Hmm.
I had been in the field for almost about 27 years, and I was getting tired of it. And I could always cook, basically could cook. My parents taught me how to cook basic things, but somehow just the idea of being able to prepare food. My parents had a friend that was a chef and a decorator, and he made great food and he really decorated well. And I went to him and spoke to him and asked his opinion, and he suggested that I give it a shot. So I enrolled in a school here in New York and went at night. I had two jobs, and I was in the military and going to school all at the same time. I don't know how I did it, but I did it.
No,
And it
you
took
were
me six
always a
months.
go-getter, Paul. So,
Yeah, it took me 6 months going at night, but I enjoyed it and I embraced it, and you know that's how I
and you
got
even
started
opened up a
in
restaurant in
culinary.
Harlem. You even
Yeah,
opened
I
up
opened up.
before you became popular with other restaurants. Now, Harlem is full
Yeah,
of restaurants, but you started
oh
yours
yeah,
on 7th Avenue.
yeah. It was 7th Avenue, 122nd Street. It was called Soup Man, and we sold soup salads and sandwiches. That was my idea of trying to get into the restaurant world, but the restaurant world is very difficult, and usually the successful ones have family members all entrenched, helping out. So I just did it. My brother helped me out for a little bit, but really wasn't his thing, and I had to respect that. And he went his own way and did his own thing. But yeah, I had it for about 5 years. I learned a lot.
Hmm.
And it was fun being in the community, which is what I wanted to do all the time. Just be able to come back to the community after I left to go away to school. I wanted to come back and sort of do something entrepreneurially, if you will.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
Now, The fact is now you are a nutritionist, but you treat, which is interesting. You now specialize in nutrition for substance abuse people. What do you
Well,
mean?
I went. Well, I cooked for almost 20 years, and I had to give it up reluctantly because my back was going out. I had actually had back surgery, so
Hmm.
gave it up, and I didn't cook professionally anymore, only except for myself. But I wanted to do something. There was still some fire left in me, and I wanted to be able to do something. So I I took an online course in to become a nutritional health coach, and I chose a niche of substance abuse community. I chose them because my own experiences with drugs. I know what alcohol and drugs will do to the body, and those who are interested in getting clean again, coming back from the debauchery of drugs and alcohol, I work with them. The rest of them who are not interested, I can't help. But those who want to escape and get their bodies back, then I help those. So I work at a outpatient clinic in Manhattan 4 days a week, and I see patients there that are in recovery and looking to clean up and start a new life, if you will. Because that's what it's all about, starting a new life. You know.
Paul, are you saying to me that part of the recovery in substance abuse, whether it's drinking, drugs, or any other abuses that we have, gambling, that nutrition plays a role in recovery? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I can't speak about gambling, but nutrition, as far as substance abuse is concerned, listen, when a person is using whatever, he or she is not eating properly. So therefore, the body
I
doesn't
hadn't
get
thought about it like that.
the nutrients that it needs because you're eating most of the time. You're eating processed foods or junk foods, in between bouts of whatever it is you're doing, and you really have time. You really have an opportunity to sit down at a table to eat properly, or are you thinking about eating properly? So it's a whole new education process at that point. Most rehabilitation places for drug abuse don't incorporate. Well, nutrition is becoming more popular now. It wasn't seen as something necessary for the people in recovery, but it's been found to be very effective because, as I said earlier, your body's shot. You're malnourished, basically. So you need to rebuild again, and the only way to rebuild again is to give the body what it needs, the proper nutrients from food. So there's a whole educational process. Some of them don't have any idea how to shop. Some don't have any idea how to cook. So you give classes and you give tutorials on those kinds of things. You talk to them about that. Some people gain weight. Some people want to lose weight. I'm not a weight loss specialist, but playing around with my own self in terms of when I gain too much weight and I want to lose it, I kind of know what to do, and based on scientific background and evidence, because I don't like diets because I think they're built to fail. Because after the diet, what? Most people getting it back, you know.
Yeah, that is true. You'll diet, and then all of a sudden, short time later, the person bounce right back, and sometimes they bounce back with more weight on them than when they did
Some
start
people
going in.
do.
What's that process about, Paul?
Sorry,
I says,
sorry.
what's that about?
What's the process of gaining weight about?
Yeah, no, yeah. So what happens? In other words, they'll lose the weight, but then they'll slack off, but then they'll pick up on the weight, but then in picking back the weight, they'll
Yeah,
even
they go
pick up
back.
again the weight.
You go back to the same old habits. You get sloppy, and you start not paying attention. I call that not being mindful. There's a subject called mindful eating, being mindful about what you eat. I'm kind of learning about it now. But I try to, in my life, I try to incorporate being mindful. That is to say, I don't cut everything out, but I try to be aware of what I am putting in my body. Yes, I have a sweet
Mhm.
tooth from smoking pot, and it's still, even though I don't do it, I still have a sweet tooth. Yeah, but I try to not bring things into my house that are going to cause me to read, so to speak. You know, so I'm not saying that I never bring it in there. I do bring junk in here. You know,
But you're more
well,
conscious of it. That's what you're saying, right?
huh?
I
Sorry.
said you're saying you're more
Huh?
conscious of what you're bringing into the house.
Oh yeah, I am because it's nobody in here but me. So I'd be sitting here eating it myself. So I bring things in like fruit. You know, I have certain fruits that I like cherries. I bring those in there. Grapes, apples. I bring those
Hmm.
things in. So when I have that that craving, so to speak, I can just kind of nosh on that, and then maybe leave it for the weekend. But I just try not to be overloaded with all the processed stuff, especially the sweets. Because me, I've always been mindful of myself in terms of my weight, in
Hmm.
terms
Hmm.
of I never really wanted it to get too out of hand. And what frightened me most is being a candidate for diabetes. I've never been diagnosed. I don't have it. My A1Cs are great, but it runs in my family, and I didn't want to be restricted that way. So therefore, I'm a bit more mindful about what I put into my system. Trying
Well,
to avoid.
diabetes seem to be a very serious challenge in this country. They just passed some bill about the health, whereby they finally put a cap on people on diabetes. Not being overcharged. I think,
Medication.
yeah, medication and stuff like
Yeah.
that. They said medication is very expensive. What causes diabetes from your point as a nutritionist?
Okay. Diabetes. All right. So we've heard the term growing up. You've heard the term. The old ladies or the old men would say, "I got sugar in my blood."
Yep.
Well, that's what it is. When you eat carbohydrates, it's broken down. When you eat anything, proteins, carbohydrates, it's broken down into sugar. Okay, and then once it gets into the blood, it looks for. Let me see, how can I explain it? It looks for a cell to park itself, much like a
Mm,
parking garage. If you're looking for a parking garage to put your car into, if
hmm.
there is an availability, that sugar could go into the cells for energy. But sometimes there is no availability, and so that sugar floats in the blood. When all the cells are used up, all the spots are used up, there's no spots for the sugar to go into and be stored as energy. Then you have diabetes. It floats around, and then the sugar is just gets out of whack. That's the best way I can explain it. So I always use the
But
parking
that
garage
makes me
analogy.
think, Paul, that if you go to most stores, especially in our communities, the first thing you do when you walk into any of the stores, there's a display of candies of all shades of whatever the case is. And so even when you go in a supermarket or go into a department store, as you're coming out, there's always candy heavily
Right.
displayed.
Yeah, that's they call that the impulse buying. While you're waiting to be checked out, all this stuff is barraging you in your face, and especially if you got a kid with you, kids
Yeah,
like that.
yeah,
So it's a lot of temptation, but the food companies, they don't care about people's health. They really don't. They only care about the profit line, how much money they can make. So what they do is process the foods. They add things to it to make it stay on the shelf longer, so you can come eventually and buy that product. Most people, when they shop, don't. I give a class on reading labels. What to look for when you read labels. Most people don't. When you're shopping in the shopping aisles, people usually pick up what they like, and that's it. But do they take the time to read what's in the product that they consume so much and like so much? For instance, peanut butter. I like peanut butter. Skippy peanut butter was the brand, right?
yeah, yeah,
That was the
yeah.
brand. But I started reading the label on Skippy peanut butter and found out that there's so much stuff in there. I'm not going to go into it, but there's so much stuff in there that you can't pronounce, then you know it's not good for you. So I started buying organic peanut butter where the only ingredient was peanuts. Tastes the
That
same,
makes sense.
but it takes you to take the time to sit and read the label and interpret it. And if you don't understand, you need to find somebody or go online and find out. But most people don't. So that's where we have a breakdown in communication with people. Some people are just too lazy, or they just been brought up that way. There are all kinds of situations, cultural backgrounds play into it. So there are all kinds of things that play into it. So I look at an individual as an individual. One size does not fit all. What works for one person may not work for another person. And there's a
Mm-hmm.
way,
Mm-hmm.
there's a series of trial and efforts. Let's try this. This may not work. Let's try this. But at the same time, I stay with them. I support them because the last thing I want them to do is to relapse or just to give up. You know, I don't use the word diet. I use the word just eat real food. Real food is being anything that is not processed. Anything close to its organic makeup is what it is. You see a piece of fruit in a store or supermarket, you see potatoes or whatever, I eat that. You know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
try, things like potato chips and whatnot. Yeah, I'll nosh on them. But again, my mind is working because it's telling me to be aware that you don't want to eat too much of this because you know how it's going to end.
It's
And
very
how does it end?
expensive to get sick, Paul.
Huh?
It's
I'm
very
sorry.
expensive to get sick. It's very expensive to get
Food?
sick.
Oh, heck yeah. Yeah, well, it's interesting because they don't teach in this country prevention. They treat. There's nothing being taught. There's very little spent on prevention and more spent on treatment.
Which is
Doctors
where the
don't
money
know
is.
exactly. Big pharma is making money hand over fist, and it's up to us as individuals to understand that and take charge of our own health. But there's a lot that goes into that equation too. But I just try to find the ones that want to learn and be concerned about their health, and I work with them.
I have a
Can't
question.
reach every.
What about all these cereals? And when you read it, they'll say red dye number so and so, yellow dye number so and so. That's not quite healthy, is it? A lot of these cereals that parents just give their kids in the morning.
Like I say, when you look at the ingredients, if you can't read or pronounce them, put it back. Because over time, it catches up to you. It catches up to you over time. It's going to bite you. So the obesity rate amongst young children higher than they ever were. The the diabetic rate is high. And these are the things that we're eating. We're buying advertising TV. I remember when I was a kid, um, they were advertising this product cereal, shredded wheat. I don't know if you remember shredded wheat.
Yeah, yes, yes, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the company was Nabisco or something like that. Anyway, I'm an impressionable kid, and I asked my mother to buy this product, and she comes home, and I get some milk and a little sugar on it. It was dry as all get up, and I needed so much sugar on it that mother said I
Yeah.
ain't buying this no more. But children are impressionable, and then they go to the parent. If you, I when I'm usually in the supermarket and I'm checking out, I always kind of make it just kind of curious to see what people have in their shopping carts. Not that I
Hmm.
care, but I do
Mm-hmm.
care. But I'm curious to see what are they eating? Are there children with them? And what's in that shopping cart as it relates to the child? Because some parents give the kid something to shut them up, or something they saw on TV that they want. I mean, that's what kids do. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm always curious to see what people are buying. You know, how much real food is in the shopping cart versus processed food. How much soda is in there? I don't think soda anymore. It's it's
Stopped drinking
it's
that years ago.
there's
Sodas.
a ton of sugar in soda, and people drink it like the plague. I used to drink it like the plague too when I was, out there acting crazy. But I realize now I read labels. I just try to understand what I'm putting in my body because for me, mobility is the most important thing. I still want to be able to do things. And to be able to do the things that I want to do, I need to eat the right foods.
Now,
because
why is
I
it?
don't sit around looking at people, huh?
No, I was going to say, I notice if you go to supermarkets, one of the first things, the way supermarkets are laid out, one of the things, soon as you go in, normally you go to the fruit section is one of the first things you normally enter. Is there a reason for that?
Well,
The
that's
way
the
the
outer aisle.
supermarkets are laid out?
Yeah, they lay out a supermarket. There's a purpose to their madness, the way they lay it out. But if you notice,
Hmm.
like you say, when you're going pretty much, I'm thinking places that I've been, the supermarket layouts are pretty much the same. The vegetables or the produces on the outskirts, along with the meat and
Hmm.
dairy, and then everything else in between is processed and mixed in with frozen. Frozen is on one side, so things like that. It's how they set it up, but it's set up for you to use your impulse, use your eyes, to say, how that tastes. I'd like that. People are
Well,
weak
one
when
of
it
the
comes to food.
people are weak when it comes to food, you're saying?
Some people are weak. They have no willpower. Some people live to eat and not eat to live. And I've seen
Yeah,
people like that. They live to eat, and they will eat everything and anything. And then, I mean, it's evident when you walk the streets. And I'm not being critical. I'm just being, using my
observant.
observation. I see
Yeah.
people on the street. I say, well, make a calculation how old they might be. Sometimes they may be younger than what they really look like, and how much overweight they are, and how they acted, and your body language. It tells me a lot. And a lot of them are just because of what they eat, they are in the position that they are in. They don't realize that the foods. I was watching a movie on Netflix the other day. It's called What the Health, Health, and it was an interesting movie because it was basically talking about meat. Meat. The meats that we eat are so tainted that with hormones and things like that, or over time, it all catches up to us. So they had some physicians on there that were nutritionists, and they were basically saying that a plant-based diet is the way to go. And if you see most advertisements, even when you're in the supermarket, you'll see magazines, plant-based diets. I've started to try to eat, because I've always eaten meat, but I've started to make subtle changes in my diet. Things I'm looking
Hmm.
for more energy, and if plant-based diets do it, I'm eating it, you know. But I don't dive all in. I do it incrementally, because there are certain vegetables that I have favorites of, and I kind of work with them. I'm a big spinach fan. I like onions. I like bell peppers. I like mushrooms. So I concentrate around those, and then I'll peel off and try something new. Like cauliflower. Instead of eating the whole cauliflower, I might shred it and make cauliflower rice out of it. And saute
Hmm.
it with peas or something else. I try to pack. It's almost like you're loading a gun. I'm trying to pack whatever is most nutritious that I can put into my body. That's not going to hurt me. You know, and for the last couple of days, I've been not eating meat, and I'm not missing it. I mean, I think about it, but I'm not like craving it. I got to have some more
Yeah,
meat.
yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah.
so if I get up in the morning, I don't have to eat meat. It's usually a piece of whole grain toast, some tea. Sometimes I have coffee, a piece of fruit. Lunch, I'll make a sandwich because I take my lunch to work now. So I'll make a sandwich. And it's usually tuna fish. I can eat tuna
Hmm.
fish pretty much all day, but it's low in fat. And then I come home and then I have a light dinner. So I just try to minimize the amount of processed foods and unhealthy fats that I put in my body because heart disease is a big disaster in this country. Everybody's got some sort of heart problems, heart issues, and I mean we're all going to die, but why push it?
Don't rush it though.
Yeah,
Don't. You know
right.
what's interesting? Because just as you said, they're labeled in boxes. In the package items that we buy in a supermarket or in a store, there are also little labels that they put on vegetables and other fruits and stuff in supermarkets. So, do you understand what those labels are? Like, if
Like
the
those
label
stickers.
starts with number 8, yes, or the label starts with a number 4. It's a little round sticker that they'll stick on lemons or this or that.
No, I don't know. I don't know. I've not
Well,
noticed. I see the stickers, but I've not really looked at the stickers. The sticker.
well, they you well
You talking about
because
those
numbers
stickers?
is yes that you peel off before you eat. But see, for me being into numbers, I know that
Right.
if the little sticker starts with the number 9, 9 means anything that's organic. If it's the number
Okay.
4, it means non-organic. If it starts with the number 8, it's a GMO product. So
Is that
that's the
is that
first
that's in the
thing I look for. Yes, that's standard. That's standard in fruits and
oh,
vegetables.
I didn't know that. That's something I didn't
Yes,
know.
I'm just, and only because of numbers and whatnot. So, like, I basically, when I shop, I look for anything fruits and vegetables that's either labeled organic or the little sticker will say number 9. If it don't say 9 on an apple, 9 on a peach, or whatever the case
Yeah.
is, I don't get it. Now, people will say to me, "Well, Lloyd, isn't organic food expensive?" But I tell people, you want to see your medical bill when you come from the hospital with a illness or something
Uh,
like that.
well, my comeback is you can pay them now, you can pay them later, but you're gonna pay them.
And normally paying later is a very expensive proposition.
Exactly. Exactly. So we have to maintain our health. It's they're not gonna do it for us. We have to do it for ourselves. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people who's just not motivated to do it. They pretty
I need
much.
to ask you a question.
Uh,
As a nutritionist, what is better? Breakfast? Some people swear you should have breakfast before you start the day, and some people it don't matter. I never eat breakfast. I start mine with tea. That's what I always start mine on. Tea,
for
lemon.
me, I've always been on a platform where, from since I was a kid going to school, elementary school, my grandmother always gave us breakfast to go to school. So through college, through the military, today I still eat breakfast. I eat 3 meals a day. For me, some people they get by without it. To the gym with a guy, he didn't eat breakfast. He didn't eat anything until he left the gym. I couldn't understand how he worked like that, but I guess his system is accustomed to it and he can do it. But for me, I encourage people to eat, because your body needs something. It needs fuel. It's almost like you're preparing to go on a trip. You're not
Mm-hmm.
going to go on a trip without checking to see how much fuel capacity you got. So you need fuel. This is like children in school. You've heard the story. Kid is sleeping in class. They go to school hungry. Well, yeah, there are a lot of kids who go to school hungry, but there are a lot of kids who eat and they're pretty much alert. When you eat, you are aware of what's going on. When you don't eat and you're hungry, you're not paying attention because all you can focus on is that hunger pain. So I try not to put myself into that position. You say you have tea in the morning. I mean, if that's good for you, Lloyd, I mean, fine. Everybody's different.
I've
I don't
always
say
had
that.
tea.
Hmm?
I've always had
Huh?
tea. I've
Right. And as long
always
as you
had
can,
tea, but that's me. Lemon tea, lemon, honey, cayenne pepper, whatever.
when when will be your next meal?
My next meal won't be probably until the afternoon. I try to not eat. It's interesting. When I was working with an insurance company and the Nation of Islam was at its height at the time in Harlem, and they talked
Mm-hmm.
about eating one meal a day, the Nation of
That's
Islam was
see,
not very much for only one meal a day. Yet the very insurance company that I work for suggested that the best meal is one meal a day because of the digestive process. I think they said it takes somewhere between 8 and 12 hours just to complete one digestive process. So if a person having breakfast in the morning, Paul, and then they go to work by 12 or 1 o'clock, they're going to have lunch. So the first process isn't completed. Then they put that on top of the process that's already working. Then about 6 or 7 o'clock they get home, and then they have it. But that's what the
and who was
insurance company
this?
is saying, huh?
This was the insurance company saying, huh?
Yeah, the
This is
insurance
what the
company I
insurance
used to work
company would
for.
say.
Yeah, they would say 1 meal a day.
Well, how would they know whether their clients were eating 3 or 1 meal a day? How would they know?
Insurance companies deals with actuaries. So actuaries, they kind of they get into all the details of how you're going to live. That's why your age in insurance doesn't go from year to year. It goes
Yeah.
every 6 months. So I'm born in February. Well, in August, my age went up before I hit February of the next year. But that's
This is how I
how it
look at it.
with actuaries.
For me, food is fuel. The body needs fuel to be able to operate at its most peak level. Period.
Yes.
Just for you to take a long trip, you need fuel. The only fuel you can put in that car is gasoline. Anything else, window washer, it ain't helping. You need food, fuel. So the body is constantly metabolizing and breaking down things. It's a cycle. You feed, you eliminate, you break down. You need it.
Paul,
For
there's a
proper
talk,
nutrition.
huh?
No, go ahead.
No,
Go ahead.
there was the thing I was listening to that says somewhere in Arizona or the Midwest, they're encouraging people to cut back on water because of the drought. Then there's
Yeah, I
projecting
saw that.
about a food shortage. So what happens if there is a food shortage and people can't
Prices will
eat
go up.
3 meals a day? Well, the
Oh
prices are
yeah,
going up now. The
yeah.
prices in the
Uh,
supermarket is going up.
well, there's a
So
whole
what
lot of people
happens? I'm thinking
eating 1 meal a day.
theoretically, huh?
I said there's a whole lot of people right now they're eating only but 1 meal a day, barely that. Because of their economic situations. But
Sure.
I
Sure.
I I have this. I share the same thought with you about the drought out there in California in the West.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
yeah? It's prices are going to go up, and there's going to be a whole lot of fighting, and I don't see a good outcome to this. Food shortages will begin to really. If we ain't got water, you need water, food and
Well,
water. You can't do without.
wouldn't it be to an advantage if there is a possible food shortage, shall we say, Paul, that one gets into a habit of what they call intermittent fasting or fasting, or get used to maybe 1 meal a day, as the insurance company that I
Well,
work for suggested? Just in case. I'm not saying, you know what I'm saying, Paul? It may never happen.
well,
But I'm saying just
well,
based upon so-called things that are supposed to be happening, food shortages, a lot of plant, a lot of food. I mean, plants that raise or process cattle and pigs and chickens have been burning across the country and stuff like that. So if there is a shortage, wouldn't people have to get prepared to maybe learn how to eat less? I'm just saying, as a nutritionist,
well,
Paul.
you wouldn't have any other choice. That's why even now I still store canned goods in my pantry. For a situation like that. We have to
Hmm.
begin to start thinking in terms of like we just went through this pandemic where they had a shortage of bringing stuff in. So
Yep.
things as basic
Yep.
as toilet tissue and other personal items. It was like, what am I going to do if I ain't got this? So we're being sort of forced to push ourselves into that realm. Again, it's all about self care. And if you don't take the time to look out for yourself, it's going to be every man for himself. I don't like this road. I don't like this road that we're going down. Food shortages and things like that. And now they're talking about water being scarce. Uh, it's scary. It's something
Question,
that
Paul. Question for you. Breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Of the three choices, which is the preferred? If that makes sense. Some people say you gotta have breakfast. Some people say you can skip breakfast. And then I need to ask you about snacks. For people that love the snack, because you just
Yeah,
did a piece on snacking.
yeah. I just did a piece on Facebook yesterday. Yesterday on what snacks are the wiser choices to have when you're having those cravings. But to get back to your question, which meal is the best?
Or
Well,
preferred, shall we say, whichever.
again, I defer to the individual. It's I think you got to eat breakfast, man. Because if you don't eat anything else, you got to have something that's going to hold you to get you through that day. If you have a day that you're going to be doing a lot of things, in my mind, it would be you need to have something substantial in your stomach that's going to hold you both mentally and physically until you can get to
That
that
makes
next
sense.
meal.
That makes sense, Paul. That
You know,
makes sense.
I always look at what kind of day I'm going to have, and based on that, because I'm going
Ah,
to eat breakfast anyway.
ah.
But based on that, then I used to ride my horse. I would, especially if we were going someplace, uh, taking our horses to another location. I always ate a good breakfast because I didn't know what time we were going to eat lunch and what, we would have a box lunch and we were going to a restaurant. I never knew. So I
Mm-hmm.
always made sure I had something to hold me until I could get. Just like when you kids play ball, sports, they eat breakfast. Hey, how do you play with an empty stomach? You need something to get you over.
Mm-hmm. 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 No,
Lunch,
it makes
lunch is the
it's like a more of an individual call to me. Some prefer breakfast. I've had breakfast, but I
yeah.
don't. I'm not steady. I gotta have breakfast type of person. I'd rather have tea and exercise. But that's me though. That's my
Right.
individual preference. You know what I'm
And that
saying?
well, but you've been doing this a while, so your body is used to it. The body can get used to a lot of things,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you could train it to do what you really want to do. It's very resilient. It will come back. It will heal for you. But if your body is used to not having only tea in the morning, I couldn't do that. I could well some days. No, you got me thinking now because some days that I wake up, I don't even feel like eating, and I won't. Well,
Yeah,
I won't eat until 12. I won't eat until noon, but I'll drink a cup of tea. So that's if I'm in the house. But if I got to go in the street, then I'm eating breakfast.
I
And I
see. Yeah,
usually
but that's
I,
how you operate though.
yeah, I usually eat breakfast at home. I don't. It's too expensive to go out and eat in restaurants. So I'm not saying I don't eat in restaurants. I do, but I would if I have to go out, I'm eating breakfast. You know,
You keep you
I
keep
mean,
that to a minimum. Now let's get to the
every
snacks.
3 hours I try to eat something.
Every three
Just
hours,
snacks.
really?
Every 3 to 4 hours I eat. So if I like this morning I ate breakfast at about 9 o'clock, and then I had a sandwich at 1, and then
Hmm.
I'm gonna eat my. I've already been eating my dinner now, but I'm gonna eat my dinner after I finish with you.
Yes,
But it's a
sure.
light dinner. I'm eating some veggies and some brown rice, so it's not heavy on
Hmm.
my stomach. And
And
then
no
I'll go to
meats.
bed maybe 2 hours. No, I'm not
Hmm.
eating meat. This is the second day without eating meat. I just want to find out how I feel. Um,
Sure.
not having it, and I'm realizing that I don't have to have it. I don't. I mean, I like it, but I know what it can do to the body. If we eating too much, and I've been eating it all my life, so I'm experimenting. I try different things. I give my body a challenge. I think we all should.
Sure.
You know.
Sure. But now that piece that you wrote about snacks, can you tell us about that? What are the do's and
Oh
don'ts of
yeah.
snacking? Because we all like the snack. We all get the munchies.
The thing for people to remember is usually when you snack, you're eating a whole lot of salt and sugar.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that's generally eating. We got a, a sweet tooth for something or a salty tooth for something. Whether it be chips or nachos or whatever. I can't eat that kind of stuff at night because it would bother me during the night. So I have to be
Mm-hmm.
mindful. So therefore, I try when I want to. Okay, when I want to eat something that's processed, I have a particular popcorn that I like. I eat popcorn.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
then and then there's just some days I just want a cookie and I'll eat a cookie. But who eats one cookie? Remember Lay's potato chips? That you
I don't.
eat the whole bag. You
I
know, so
don't.
for me knowing that, like, so for me knowing that late at night, I just don't bring it in the house because I'll be tempted to eat the whole
To
thing.
get on it.
So
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
bring my favorite fruit now. I like cherries. I love cherries, and I put my
Yeah, I do
cherries in the
too.
freezer. I like them when they get hard because when I bite into them, it's kind of like a sorbet kind of thing going on, in my taste buds. When I bite into it,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I can sit down and eat a whole lot of them, and sleep well. Apples are my another favorite fruit that I eat. Or I just make a smoothie. That's filling in itself because I'll put avocado, bananas,
I make smoothies
and
too.
pine,
Yeah.
and that's because the whole idea is to feel full.
Mm-hmm.
So you
Mm-hmm.
want something that has a little bit more fiber in it to give you that full feeling. Because fiber is what gives you that full feeling.
I
So
got
I
a
try to,
question, Paul.
yeah.
I got a question. See, because every time you say something, what about a smoothie and or food, and you're taking what is called these supplements, vitamin D's, Tonka Ali, astaxanthin, vitamin D3s. Do these complement the diet, the eating habit of a person? You think these supplements or
Um,
things?
well, okay. The rule is you should have a supplement with the meal.
Uh huh.
If you're eating a
Okay.
nutritious meal, it's okay. In the morning, I take a multivitamin for seniors.
Right.
So I
Right.
already take I'm multivitamin for seniors, and I take fish oil. I take that,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
but the bulk of the nutrients should be from the food you eat, not just taking a bunch of supplements and not eating properly. You need to eat
Okay.
properly, have a supplement, and therefore you're getting everything you need. Everything you need is in the food that you eat. If you're eating a balanced, proper meal, I'm talking about eating carbohydrates, protein, healthy fats, everything in the foods. You're getting all the vitamins you should be getting if you're eating fruits and vegetables. You're getting all the fiber you should be getting if you're eating grains and things like that. So you need to be
Mm-hmm.
a bit more mindful because you don't need this. You don't need the supplements if you're eating properly.
Probably. Probably.
Multivitamin doesn't hurt, but I'm just saying all these other things, I don't think you need all that stuff. That's just my
Okay.
opinion. I'm not a nutritionist, I'm a coach. So, I'm not going to sit here and banter back and forth about what but, it's worked for me not having to, I think I'm pretty healthy. I have some health issues, but I got my mobility and I can do the things that I want to do. And so as long as I
But
can do that,
and here's the thing though, Paul, even though your forte is nutrition for substance abuse clients, the rule really applies to whether you have substance abuse or not. Am I correct? I think that's what we
exactly,
was
exactly,
essence of it.
exactly. Exactly. It applies to everyone. It's just that the substance abuser body is in really in a bad way because of the substance abuse that
That
he's
makes sense because they're
bestowing
not
on his
paying
body.
attention if they're drinking or getting high
Yeah,
all the time. The last thing they probably thinking about is a meal.
that's the last thing they're thinking about. The meal is secondary. When actual and on a real level, food should be the priority. You should basically know what you're going to eat. And some people don't. Some people have lots of busy schedules. Me, I kind of know what I'm gonna eat. I have a day that I just shop. And on that shopping day or the next day, I'll cook for the week because I don't want to cook every day. Even though I'm here alone by myself, I don't want to cook every day. But if I cook and then I can just heat it up, that's fine for me. That's
I do
fine
have
for
a
me. I'm getting.
question.
Mhm.
Some people say you should eat before you shop, or you should prepare a list before you shop. Is that true? What do you think
It,
as a
let me
coach?
tell you, food is expensive. And I've come in there with my lists, and I've bought only what was on the list. And when I deviated from that list, I look at the grand total, and it's like stick with the list. You can't go wrong. You know, lists help. You know, but it's hard for people. You know, it's because you're always going to see
Yeah.
something you want. You know, so it's that willpower. You got to be able to overcome that willpower, and it's hard sometimes. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You know, I wouldn't beat myself up about it. You know,
Listen,
as long as
psychologists, huh?
I just think so long as you're mindful about your nutrition, so long as you're aware of what you should be eating versus what you should not be eating on a regular basis. Yeah, you can have your ice cream and cookies. It's okay, but not on a regular basis. You're not sitting in front of the TV every night, you know, mindlessly eating and looking at the screen. That's when
Sure,
you're not,
sure, sure,
you know,
sure.
I want you to be aware of what you should be eating, and then if you want to splurge, you can splurge. But you know, there are other things in place of the processed items that you can satisfy yourself. It's just about training yourself because the mind can do anything if you wanted to. How bad do you want to lose weight? How bad do you want to make a little subtle change in your dietary habits?
Mm-hmm.
That's all. You got to ask yourself that. If you really want to make those subtle changes, and you have to start out with, small steps. But if you
Sure,
want
sure.
to, you can get there. You know, it's like certain foods are like acquired taste, like avocado. For me to eat an avocado, I know the importance of it, but to eat
Yeah,
it
but it's
by
not exciting
itself,
to
I
me.
can't.
Yeah, it's not
Well, how does
exciting. It's
someone
like
wait? Well, no, I found another way to
texture.
eat it. The texture in my mouth, I don't agree with. So what I do is just put it in a smoothie. I get the same benefit.
Ah,
I just found another
ah.
way.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
You
That
know,
makes sense.
when I was a child, my grandmother, when I was in elementary school, she would make lunch for us, so we would come home for lunch. She knew I didn't like carrots. She knew I liked potatoes, but she would cut the carrots up small and make mashed potatoes and incorporate them, and I ate them like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a way
Mm-hmm.
to get me. So there are all kinds of ways to get the nourishment you need. You just got to be creative enough to figure it out to get what the body needs. It's what you need to function. You know, and also
Here's
the
a part
foods that we
two,
eat. Huh?
huh? No,
Go
there
ahead.
was a part two to the supermarket. A, you go in with a list. You suggest. A, B, part two to this is should one eat before they go into a supermarket or just because I'm thinking if you don't eat, you're inclined to just either even buy extras because whatever the case is, what is your experience with that? Or what would you suggest to a
Um,
substance abuse patient?
well, usually when I shop, again, I'm a breakfast person, so I've already eaten.
Right,
You know,
right.
I've already eaten, so I don't even think about it.
Hmm.
So everybody's different. Somebody could you might be able to get away with it shopping. You drink your tea in the morning and go shopping. That might be, you won't, and you can stick to your list. Everybody's different. We all
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
think that we all cut from the same cloth. We all got little nuances that we need to work on. And that's where the
Hmm.
difficulty lies in. Those trying to iron out those little crux, little knots I call them.
Yeah,
That's the hard part for some people. Their willpower is just not there. I want the chip. I want that butter pecan ice cream.
that's my favorite.
Or or the hard part is, what if you go to a buffet? You know,
Oh
you just
yeah, oh yeah,
how
oh
do you
yeah.
control yourself? How do you control yourself when you go to a buffet? When it's all laid out. And it's like, and some people just can't. I've
And they
seen
make
it.
it very eye appealing too. Because one of the things that made you made a statement that I say, Paul, won't you come on the show? Is that you said in part that we kind of eat with our eyes. Can you
Yeah, we
explain
eat
to
with our.
what do you mean by that when you said that?
Well, usually, if you see any kind of glossy color food picture, and it looks appealing to you, already the brain is already kicked in, and it's sending signals to the body saying that wouldn't that be nice to taste? Wouldn't that be nice to have? Or if you go
Yeah,
to an affair and the food is laid out, or a buffet, you know, you you see it, it's right there, and automatically you want to try it. So we do see that's the first. Our eyes is the first thing we see with our eyes. We see
with
the
the food.
product right there
Hmm.
with the
Hmm.
food, and so it's either desirable or not desirable. Either you want to have it. For me, I can't eat nuts. I can only eat peanuts. But if I see layout with nuts and stuff like that, I already know what's going to happen. So it's like, eat with my eyes. My eyes are saying you can't eat that. But our eyes do play a part in it.
Okay. I want to let people know how they can get in touch with you, because you've actually been a nutritionist for some celebrities, which we're not going to name. If you want to name a few, that's up to you. But this is how you can get in touch with Paul. And Paul, I've been knowing since we've been really knowing each other since back in the day, college days, after that, stuff like that. So he is a nutritional coach and he is a consultant too. So you don't have to be a substance abuse person. And Paul, you were saying something also before we got on the show about weight. People don't pay attention to the numbers or something like that. Do you remember what you were telling me about, like, people who want to get on diets don't pay attention to the weight or the
Oh,
calories. So can you
uh,
tell us share with us?
okay.
I mean, share with them what you were saying.
Sure, sure. I think I was talking about diets. I was saying that I don't
Yes.
particularly like diets because you're sort of set up to fail. People who want to lose weight, they'll go on a diet, but after they reach that desired weight and they leave the diet aside, what's going to happen? You're gonna get lazy, and most people will get lazy and start gaining more weight back. And I think the solution to that is not to stick with a diet. In my opinion, is just to eat mindfully and healthier. Just be careful of what you put in your mouth because the weight is going to come on if you don't want it to come on when you eat those kinds of foods. So there are all kinds of diets. I probably think the diet that I would probably like if I was going to really follow this diet, and it's the most popular diet, that's the Mediterranean diet.
Yeah, I
So
was
you're
going to ask
basically
about
eating
that.
food. They eat foods from that part of the region, and and none of it is processed. And and I've traveled. I've been to some of the Mediterranean countries, and they eat sweets, but they don't eat sweets like we eat them here in this country. In this country, they're everywhere, but there they don't eat them like that. They may have a little, like for dessert they may have some cheese and fruit. They may have a tart, a lemon tart for instance, some kind of fruit thing, sorbet or
But they
something
don't
like
go
that. None
all
of
out the way they do in this country.
no, not like when you look at the food channel, all this stuff, that they got on there like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, food is to have fun with. It's just how you have a relationship with food. What is your relationship with it? You know, and you don't want a runaway relationship with food. Have fun with it, enjoy it, but know the consequences of eating too much of the wrong thing will do to you. And if you don't want to be a person that's going to be restricted because of a condition that you have in terms of what you can eat, then eat more mindfully. You know, eat
And in
more
fact, I,
mindfully.
I see that often as you and I do, because we live in Manhattan, in New York City. A lot of people have mobility challenges, either with
Oh yeah,
canes, walkers, wheelchairs. And these were people that were once vibrant, very active, very energetic,
I
and
was so
now,
afraid of being like that.
so you're right that, so what you're saying is eventually, if you don't pay attention, these things of improper eating and just eating anything you think will catch up with you.
As I say, I always use the expression with the substance abuse community. You know how this is going to end. You already know. Even if you don't want to know, you know how this is going to end. In the end, it's going to be you're going to be restricted because of some chronic illnesses you got. You got the arthritis. We all have arthritis. To some degree, but some people have it chronically, and some people,
Yes, yes.
and it comes from the foods we eat. The foods we eat have a lot to do with the arthritis that we get. I can go on another topic about that, but basically, we have to watch what we eat because if you want your mobility to be able to do certain things and have a lifestyle that's at least comfortable. Who wants to live an uncomfortable life? You can't even sleep.
With
You can't
chronic
even
illnesses. Yeah.
right. You sit down and you need two people to pull you up out of the couch. No, now And the other part that I didn't mention, and I think you mentioned earlier, is you have to incorporate exercise. I can't say that enough. You know, when
Yeah.
I go to work, I sit for those 4 hours that I'm in the office, but during my lunch break, I take a half hour after I eat a sandwich because it don't take me long. I'll get up and walk around the block, maybe one or two times, according to how I feel. Just take a little brisk walk and come back. You got to get
I,
some
you
exercise. I have a bike in here. I get on my bike all the time. First thing in the morning, I get on my bike. And sometimes at night, I get on my bike after a meal, if depending on the time. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, doesn't hurt. I try to get at least 30 minutes of exercise a day. At least 30
but
minutes.
it's interesting too, Paul, because doctors say one of the basic things is to walk. It appears nowadays that people will go from the car to the
Yeah.
mall back
Oh,
to the
yeah.
car, and the car back to
And the
the
mall is
house.
across the street. And the mall is across the street. Go figure. Go figure. You know?
So evidently, what is it from your perspective? What's the magic with walking? Walking doesn't seem like no big deal. It ain't like you got to go jog. It ain't like you got to go
Like
sprint. It ain't like you got
you're,
to go
you're
run.
burning
You
you're
just
burning
walk.
you're burning calories and you're increasing the heart rate. That's what you want to do. Increase the heart rate. You can walk slowly. You can walk at a brisk pace. You can break it up. There's a park I go to. I walk them, and sometimes I'll start out walking briskly, and then I'll slow down. I'll pick up the pace, but I'm walking. I increase my heart rate. I break a sweat. And that's what you want to do. I mean, because the older we get, the more lazier we get. We don't want to do stuff. And the reason why we don't want to do stuff is because our mobility is compromised. Or it
Ah,
hurt.
okay. I got you.
You know, So let me sit down and take this pill so that the pain can go away. But meanwhile, the disease is still there. You're not doing nothing to try to. So again, food and exercise are things that we have to do to keep ourselves in a position that we are mobile enough and not have chronic illness. I mean, chronic illness basically mostly everybody has it, but some people got maybe four, 2 or 3 chronic illnesses or 4 or 5 chronic.
At the
It's
same time.
crazy. And
Yeah,
it all
yeah.
there's, there's a saying that I often say: 95% of all chronic illnesses is a result of the foods we eat.
Really.
95%. Yeah, it's on my website. I have it on as a quote.
And your
95%
website
of
is
all.
listed here on the banner, right?
Sorry,
Your
sorry.
website is listed here on this banner so people understand.
Yeah, it's there. PlentyNutrition.net. Yeah, yeah.
PlentyNutrition.net. And also you on Facebook. You
Facebook.
also on IG and
Yeah,
nutritional
which is new
coach.
to
And
me.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just got on IG. I'm not a social media person, but I have a person helping me with it. So I just got on Instagram, Plenty Nutrition Coaching, which is the same page for Facebook, Plenty Nutrition Coaching. But Plenty on Facebook is where I post mostly 3 times a week, 3 things, and I do things. I find topics that are trying to be interesting to the individuals. Like today I put on there a topic about how to make soul food healthier. You know, and
That's
there's a link on there.
interesting. Well, Paul,
I
we're gonna have you back, especially during the holidays. because that's when people
Yeah.
get into a whole lot of cooking and stuff like that, especially between Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Oh,
Now, if you want to speak before a group, can they call you at that number 9174 414-6584? If say some group or
sure.
organization wants you to come and speak, because Paul is really, really into this. I mean, we've just talking. I had to coax Paul for a while to come on, because Paul is kind of low key, but the brother is extremely, extremely knowledgeable. So don't let his low key thing fool you. He's got more knowledge than we've spent within this hour. But that's the number to either call him individually or call him for
Yeah.
a group presentation or things like that, and he'll definitely come out and speak. Or if you need personal coaching, but he has done cooking for celebrities, things like that. So his Paul Chisholm National Nutritional Coaching Consultant. His number is 917-414-6584. His IG is Plenty Nutrition Coaching. His Facebook is Plenty Nutrition Coaching. His
Yep.
website is
Same.
plentynutrition.net. And his email, if you want to drop him a line, is coachpaulnyc@gmail.com. Paul, can you hold on a second? I just want to let people know who's going to be on
Sure.
next week, and then we can close out with some words of wisdom that you may have for some people. And we do. So let me just switch over here a second.
Okay.
Okay, good. Thanks. And what I'm going to do, folks, is I want to let you know that Monday, our course, it's supposed to be, and it is a numerology show. But also, what is important as nutrition is dental health. And I'm going to have a very distinguished doctor on. She has a holistic clinic, the Morningside Dental Care, right here in the village of Harlem, where she uses a very holistic approach in everything she does. She believes in saving teeth. And believe me, I'd always been afraid of needles and whatever until I went to her and she changed my life. So the point is, like nutrition, what Paul was saying, that you can ignore your teeth if you want to, but you either pay a price now, but later is the bigger price. And she will explain it. She's also written a book on the subject of that. And also on the same program Monday is a numerologist out of California, Richard Woods, a very distinguished numerologist. He's going to be reading your numbers, what's in your stars, and things of that nature. And then on Wednesday, the 24th, I'm going to have King Simon and I think Kafunya and a couple other people, because there's going to be a big event that's going to be that Saturday out in Brooklyn at Nicholas Books. So King Simon will go into all the details, and if everybody knows King Simon, how he rolls, that's going to be good. By the way, my newsletter is absolutely free. August is out. I'm working on September, so I'm not late this time. And I'm going to add some new features and components to it to make it even more interesting. But please, if you get the free newsletter, just go to my website, lloyd-strayhorn.com, to sign on. Tomorrow, I will be on Clubhouse. I do it every Thursday at 7 p.m. It's numbers in you, but the feature of my Clubhouse room is learn from Lloyd with numerology, but that's every Thursday. So again, that's tomorrow, 7. Sign up for the free monthly newsletter. Go to lloyd-strayhorn.com. Thursday, the 24th, it would be King Simon and his distinguished guests, because we're all going to be doing a real nice presentation on Saturday, the 27th, out in Brooklyn, Nicholas, Brooklyn. Then on Monday, the 22nd, on the back end of the interview is going to be Richard Woods. But for dental care, trust me, trust me, trust me, you're going to want to see this one. For those that got bad teeth or ignore your mouth, I think after you listen to her, you will change your subject matter altogether. So I want to thank everybody for that. And then, so Paul, buddy, any words of wisdom, nutritional wise, before we get off this interview, this session?
Yeah, I just like to say, don't make it complicated. Just eat real food. The chef, the late chef Julia Child, she used to say, cooking don't have to be complicated. Just eat real food, and be mindful. That's so it doesn't take a lot. Just be aware of what you're putting in your body, because the things that we don't should not put in our bodies are the things that's gonna over time catch up to us. So
You
mindfulness
know,
is the
Paul,
key, I would say.
I got to ask you this before we get off. Why is it that we seem to like things that are no good for us? Why?
Well, the marketing campaigns are they do a great job.
Right?
They suck us in. They suck us in. People hang on every word and every product they sell. So there's a lot of weakness in us. They make it taste good, and they're doing their job. But we as the
They do it well,
consumer,
unfortunately.
we're not doing. We're not doing good. We're not doing as well as we could be, and that's exhibited by the amount of chronic illnesses that we get. We don't think about when we think about the taste and what it is, not how
Yeah,
detrimental it could be to us. When
yeah,
we can think like that, have fun with it, but don't overdo it.
yeah. Because in that
That's the only
moment
thing
it tastes
I can
so
say.
good,
That's the way I
but
live
not
my
moving
life.
up the road, there's consequences.
Right, right, right. So that's it. And take care of your teeth because the dentists are very expensive.
That's what I'm
Very
working on
expensive.
now, and I'm here to tell
Yeah,
you it is
yeah.
very
I want
expensive.
to. I like
This is
listening on that show.
Yes, you should tune in Monday. That's the whole reason why I have Dr. Donna Williams on Monday to tell people, please, just like you deal with your food, people take their teeth for granted, but there's a very, very serious price you pay, and it has a direct relationship to your health. Go
Well,
ahead, Paul.
after I eat every meal, I do proxy brush. I clean out.
Really?
I make sure. Yeah, I don't. It's. You can pay them now. You can pay them later. That's my
It's
motto.
very expensive. Going to a dentist is
Yeah,
very expensive. Very,
right.
very expensive. It is very expensive getting ill in this country,
This is true. This is true. So
and it's
mindfulness is the
so
key.
unfortunate. And yet, the medical profession is to do no harm, and yet we, for whatever reason, we harm
Um,
ourselves the more than we need to. So,
the only harm they're doing is not teaching prevention more. In my opinion, they should really stress prevention more than treatment. Treatment is yes, but if they stress more prevention, but it's not set up that way because the food companies are making money. That's what it's all
yeah, you
about.
got to make that money. It's a shame that is profit more important than people. And you would think that people would be a little bit more important than profit. But what do we know? Okay, Paul. Anyway, man, thank you so
Right.
much. Uh, this
You're
has
very
been a
welcome.
pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, listen, listen. Thank you for coming on. This is great, and I want to thank everybody for joining us. Paul is literally in every sense of the word, my lifelong friend, my partner in crime. Some of the things we did, we ain't gonna even discuss, but we just had a ball as friends and whatnot like that, and long time. We're like brothers as far as I'm concerned. But everybody, I want to thank you very much for joining us. Have a great weekend. Don't forget on Monday, it's a two-parter. I'm going to have this holistic dentist. She believes in saving teeth. That is rare. That's her belief. And when you see and hear what she does, I think you'll be appreciative. And then later on in the second half of the show on Monday, I'm going to have this very distinguished gentleman out of California. Brother Richard was just pretty good with the numerology. So we'll see what's going on. And then finally on Thursday, well, you know how King Simon does. When King Simon's in the house, everybody gets it's interesting. Anyway, I want everybody to have a blessed day. Y'all take good care of yourselves. And to my good friend Paul Chisholm, he is the best. And the brother knows what he's talking about. Trust me, he really, really does. If not, he wouldn't have been on the show to try to help you.